going on, Blossom's back, and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. Today we have something very special because whenever we talk about prize cars when it comes to Top Drives, the legendaries get the clout. The legendaries get the limelight, but today, that's not the case. As you can tell from the thumbnail and the title, we're going to be focusing on epics. But before we get into today's video, I have a very special announcement. Now, these kind of things don't come around real often, so stay tuned for the clip that I'm gonna roll right now. Whether you know him for his over 200 legendary showcase or his Speedo modeling days, I'm glad to announce that Canon, our very own Cannonball of Death, has written, directed, and acted in his own film called 30 Love. It's about a man who loses his wife after giving birth to their first child. So he starts playing tennis in an effort to hold on to her memory. He neglects his newborn daughter and focuses on winning tennis tournaments instead, while trying to destroy his own Mini Cooper in the process. So yeah, if you want to see Cannon bashing his own car, which is an RQ61 Mini Countryman, his movie is actually premiering for free on YouTube on the 9th of March. Link to the movie will be in the description below. Also, here is a snippet from the trailer.
I don't want to be a dad.
No, you don't, Cannon. No, you don't. You just want to play Top Drives. But anyway, massive shout out to the man. Very proud of him. Remember to check it out. 9th of March, link in the description below. Anyway, let's get back into the video. Boom! Once again, man, congratulations to Cannonball on his massive achievement once again. 30 Love, March the 9th, premiering tomorrow, link in the description below. But back to Top Drives now. You guys know how we do when it comes to tier maker. I got, 6 different categories here from worst to best. We got A5 Wagyu, okay? The most juicy, the most tender cut of steak available on the market. It's so good. I love it. A5 Wagyu, top of the top. And that's going to represent the best of the best cars that we're going to see here today. Second is going to be Pappardelle con guancia di mazzo. It's like this slow-cooked pappardelle in a ragu, and with pecorino romano and short rib. It's so tasty as well. So those two are going to be our top 2 ranks. We got amazing and we got great. And then on our average rank, we have burrata. Can't go wrong with burrata, but obviously there are things that are better than just bread. And then we have the overcooked and undersalted rigatoni. These are for cars that aren't pretty good. You can't really get a lot of value out of these cars, just like overcooked and undersalted rigatoni. In fact, to most Italians, I'm sure that overcooked, undersalted rigatoni is about the same as hot garbage. Hot garbage is going to represent the worst of the worst, and that's why it's below. Even the unawarded cars are way better than those in hot garbage. But anyway, let's get into it. Starting this off on the 4th time. Yes, this is the 4th time I'm recording it, because the first 3 times I recorded it all ended in a crash. So hopefully this time it won't crash. If not, then you'll see me record this again, and then I'll say this is the 5th time, and I'm gonna go into insanity. But anyway, let's get into it. The first one is gonna be the Volvo 850 BTCC. Now, I've recorded this video 4 times now. You didn't see the first 3 ones because they're all corrupted video files because, OBS crashed or whatever. So I basically know where every car is going to go 4-fold. But yeah, Volvo 850 BTCC. Why is it the 2nd highest rank? Well, think about all the positives this brings to the table. Really, it brings a lot. So I have Top Drives Club open here, and some of the pictures you're going to see are a bit outdated, like the Interceptor is ultra rare still, but I do have all the new stats with me. So the 850 BTCC, first of all, great MRI, 88 MRI for a very cheap price, 65 RQ, lightweight car coming at 975 kgs, 90 handling, 4.80 to 60, and 150 top speed. So you're getting a very lightweight front-wheel drive car, which is a niche in itself. The fact that it's also an estate that has amazing handling and good MRA makes this to be a very formidable car. All that in a package for the cheap price of RQ65. Very, very good car. The only reason why it's not in a higher rank is because the Alfa Romeo 155 TS BTCC is just slightly better in every way for the same RQ. RQ65, once again, it is a lighter weight car, 950, so 25 kgs lighter than the Volvo. Although it's not an estate, it has another really specialist niche, which is the saloon tag. It has slightly better handling, slightly lower 0 to 60, and the same top speed. Both cars, no
traction control and ABS, but that doesn't really matter because they have slick tires anyway. You're not going to put them in the rain. So yeah, that's definitely A5 Wagyu. Now, good stuff over. We talk about the Jag that's overcooked and undersalted rigatoni. This thing is absolutely hot garbage because it's a more expensive version of the Lancia 037. And when you think about it, the Lancia 037 is easier to unpack and it's easier to, you know, upgrade because it's an ultra rare. I mean, easier to unpack, it's actually packable. The Jaguar, however, isn't. And not only is it harder to upgrade, it also has worse stats, less handling, and a higher 0 to 60. So it's slow, at least 260. It doesn't handle very well, and the top speed is very average, 155. The only thing that the Jag has going for it is it has 89 MRA, medium ground clearance, and off-road tires. And I guess one niche would be the fact that it is one of 3 all-surface tire / off-road tire Jags in the game. That being said though, that's a very small niche that not a lot of people capitalize on. Not a lot of good things to say about this F-Type. At the end of the day, it is a worse version of the Lancia 037, and therefore it is overcooked and undersalted. Not hot garbage because it has a little bit of niches. Now moving on is the Honda NSX, and that is going to be Barato. It's a very average epic, you know, it's what you come to expect from a 65 and a Japanese car. The MRA, very average, 72. And the handling, 88, which is a standout to be fair, but the 0 to 60 once again is very just 4.7. There are a lot of ultra rares with lower 0 to 60s than 4.7. And finally, the not the handling, but the weight. I always get weight and handling mixed up. I don't know why. They're not even remotely close words, but it comes in at 1,270 kg, so it is relatively light. Not the lightest car, but not the heaviest car by a long margin. Moving on now is unawarded. Look at that. We have 1 car for every rank. Gotta love it. So the Nissan e-Primera, we haven't gotten that yet. Or sorry, just the Nissan Primera e-GT. We haven't gotten that yet, so that's going to be unawarded. Now next up is the Maserati 250 and the Infiniti Q60 Red. Both cars are absolute hot garbage. I would never touch with a 10-foot pole. In fact, I couldn't even touch them with a 100-foot pole if I had them, because I don't have them, because if I had the pole, because I don't have them in my garage, because I fused them away. Some people are still mad that I actually fused both these epic prize cars. Like, bless him, how could you fuse the epic prize car? It's prize car. The thing is, absolutely useless, okay? I got rid of both of them during the Peugeot 908 HDI Fat Finals, and that was the 4th of July, 2021. That was more than half a year ago. That was 7-8 months ago almost, and since I fused both cars away, there has not been a single event where these cars have been proven, that have proven me wrong. You know, there's been no event in the last half a year, over half a year, where these cars were the difference of getting tier 1 and tier 2, or a carbon fiber, or from a ceramic, or a ceramic from an aluminum. These cars do not make a difference at all. Now, what's even worse is that, at least for the Maserati 250F, I understand why it's a prize car, because the car itself is a legend. But the Infiniti, this makes no sense to me. It doesn't provide, you know, prize car worthy performance in its stats. And look at the car. Is there anything special about the Q60 Red Sport? To me, I personally don't think so. So that car is just a weird one, definitely the true definition of hot garbage. Moving on is the 22B. 22B, kind of like the F-Type, right? Useless car, but there's some positives to it. So what's the positive for the 22B? Well, the 22B, with its stats today, because these are outdated stats in the car, is 5.0 0 to 60, so that's very, very slow, and 86 handling. And that's where the positives lie, the 86 handling. When you look at lower-end Subarus in the game, like RQ70 and below, the Subaru Impreza 22B stands up on top with 86 handling. Most of the other Subarus are 85, 84, 83. So because of that, it stands out in that regard. That's its niche. Low-end Subarus for the Epic collection. So there is some use to it. Also, it's four-wheel drive. It's medium ground clearance. So it's overcooked and undersalted because there's a little bit of positive, but more negatives than not. So once again, it's not hot garbage because there's a little bit of positives that make sense. What I'm trying to say is that it has a lot of negatives, but not enough to be hot garbage. Okay, and I've recorded this 4 times, and I still don't know what to say about the 22B. Nice. Next up is the Subaru Impreza WRX. It's a P1. That's unawarded, so we don't know. We don't need to talk about that. Next is the Miura SVJ. Now, the Miura SVJ is what the 250F wanted to be, but couldn't. Okay, the SVJ knows what it wants to be. Just like the Maserati, it has a high top speed. In fact, a higher top speed. It's also very light. They're both very light cars, and the 250 is a lot lighter at 670 kgs, but the Miura is still a very light car, coming in at 800 kgs. And look at this, for 4 IQ more, you're getting a 1.2 second difference in 0 to 60, reduction in 0 to 60, okay? The Lamborghini Miura SVJ brings legendary performance worth of 0 to 60 for a mid-range epic. And I think that is a very, very strong argument to make for this car being in Burrata, or average tier. Because the main problem with the Miura SVJ is that it doesn't have amazing MRA. It's not bad. It's 80.26. But the thing is, if you have that 0 to 60 and you have that top speed, you can give it like 50 handling, but at least give it 90 MRA. Then you would have a very, very strong car. That being said though, the Miura SVJ is still a very strong machine. I would say the only thing weighing it down is the lack of MRA that it has, although it's not that bad. And I guess it doesn't handle, but it doesn't really matter when you're a drag car. It's a good car to have. Moving now is the Copo Camaro and the Interceptor. Both cars have been unawarded, so we don't need to talk about that. The Porsche Cayman GT4 is going to be overcooked and undersalted. Nothing special about this epic. It's a very run-of-the-mill 71. It's what you expect from a 71. In fact, it's quite heavy, 1,415 kgs, and the MRA is very decent. It's very meh. It's just what you expect from an RQ 71, 72. It's 72 now, 71 in the picture. 81.93 MRA, 4.20 to 60, 87 handling. Once again, very average car. The handling is pretty good to be fair, but the 0 to 60 leaves little to be desired. The top speed is good for a German car, but when you take Germany out of the equation, most epics are able to hit around 170, 180 if it's a low ground clearance, performance-oriented car. Moving on is the E Primera. Is that, still Primera, BTCC. Now that's a car that I'm definitely looking forward to get. It's very light, 975 kgs, and amazing handling, low 0 to 60. It's just going to be a better version of the Alfa Romeo 155, isn't it? So really excited for this car. The next one is the Alfa Romeo 8C Competizione. Now this, I would say the Alfa and the Porsche Cayman are like brothers from other mothers, right? They have very similar pictures, very similar cars, very similar stats. The 0 to 60 is 4.2 and 4.0. The handling is exactly the same. The top speed is 183 to 182. Now, unfortunately, I don't know the MRA of the 8C because it's not listed in Top Drives Club, but this is a car that I don't see very often that has already been awarded. So the fact that I know that this car has been awarded and the owners of these cars don't even use them that often really goes to show and speaks volume that this car isn't really that useful. At the end of the day, for 74 RQ, I don't think it's worth. It's 72 in the game now, to be fair, so it is slightly better. And its stats now are, actually it's changed, because according to Top Drives Club, for 72 RQ, so it has a 2 RQ reduction, it's 488 now. You know what? That actually makes it a lot better than the Cayman, because you're telling me that for since it's 72 now, for 1 RQ more, it has way better handling and a way lower 0 to 60. Okay, to be fair, I would give it average. It's Burrata tier. Next up is the Nomad. The Nomad's a pretty interesting one. If you rated the Nomad for its off-road capability, it would be overcooked and undersalted, if not hot garbage. But if you rated it for its on-road capability, it'd be A5 Wagyu. So to equalize it, I'm going to give it Pappardelle con Guance di Manzo. This is a car that really is something that you didn't expect it to be. Everyone thought that this was going to be, something to use for the off-road, but no, it's not a 323 car. It's a 233 car. 3.40 to 60, 80 handling, high ground clearance. Forget about the off-road tires. That is useless. That means nothing. It's also a very light car coming in at 670 kgs. This is the best British epic for the city streets. Anything medium. If there was like motocross road, one day that might even happen, the Aerial Nomad is the car to go. Four-wheel drive off-road tires is something that you kind of need for the off-road meta when it comes to epics. The Nomad doesn't provide that. So this isn't a car that you want to put on the off-road track set. This is a car that you want to put on the on-road track set. And on the on-road track set, the Nomad is a very, very useful car. So for that, in an on-road way, it is Pappardelle con Guance di Manzo. Now, moving on from the Nomad, we are going to go into the Renault Sport Laguna. So moving into recent events now, that is definitely A5 Wagyu. I cannot wait to get this car. 91 MRA, 975, very, very light, 92 handling, 4.50 to 60. It has no traction control and ABS, but that doesn't matter because once again, it's a slick tire car. So very, very strong. I cannot wait to get it. And if you're a fan of Nescafe, I guess you get the clout of having a car of Nescafe on its name, on its body as well. Alright, well, we're going from a spectrum to spectrum here, because from the best of French we go to the worst of French. The Peugeot 3008 Dakar, it's hard garbage. Absolutely hot garbage. It's a lightweight car. That's the only thing, and that's where the positives end. Very, very useless. I cannot believe that it is the same. In fact, one RQ higher, because it's 73 now, than the Nomad, because there really is genuinely nothing to say about the 3008 Dakar. This thing is a piece of crap. I would fuse it away in a heartbeat if I had it. Nismo Leaf, that is unawarded. The GT40 is going to be overcooked and undersalted, unfortunately. I do love the car. It has okay MRA, 89. But the problem is for RQ73 to only have 84 handling. I mean, there are a lot of super rares that handle a lot better than this. There are a lot of ultra rares that handle a lot better than this. And this isn't even a low end epic. This is a mid to higher end epic at 73 RQ. Unfortunately, 89 MRA isn't enough to compensate for the 4.20 to 60, which is quite weak, and especially the 84 handling. Moving on now is the Vauxhall VXR8 GTS. Now this one gonna cause some controversy, I think. I think it's Barada. When you think about it, it is the same exact RQ, or actually one RQ now, because this is an old picture, 73, it's 74 now, but it's very similar in RQ to the Ford GT40 race car. It has a lower 0 to 60 and handles better, all that, and this is medium. This is a low ground clearance car in the GT40, and you're telling me that the VXR8 has better performance for medium ground clearance? Now that's a really good bargain. Now of course, the Vauxhall doesn't have amazing MRA, 78, so it's not bad, but it's definitely not good either. But another thing that this thing has is that it's medium ground clearance and it's a muscle car. Not a lot of medium ground clearance muscle cars that can handle out there. So you do have a very specific niche in the Vauxhall VXR8 GTS, and for that, I'm gonna give it Barata because it actually performs well in that niche. Moving on is the Abarth Grande Punto. Now this is going to be absolutely A5 Wagyu. 98 handling when you max it out, a very lightweight car, coming in stock at 1,150 kgs, a low 0 to 60, all that for 4-wheel drive performance tires, so you can use it in the rain, and medium ground clearance. Basically what you have in the Grande Punto is a car that is capable of the twisty track sets, but also city streets medium and city streets small in the dry and the wet. So a very versatile car. As long as you don't put it on the drag, you're gonna get so much value from the Grande Punto. Now the Vauxhall Firenze Baby Bertha comes next, and I'm gonna give this an average tier as well. It has amazing MRA, 98 MRA, and it's a very lightweight car coming in at 1,018. The main problem with this is, once again, much like the GT40, for RQ74 or 75 that it is now, 86 handling just isn't enough. I know it's from the 70s, that's another niche that it provides, but there is another prize car from the 70s that is just so much better, and we'll get to that in a bit. Moving on is the Ram Rebel TRX. Now this car needs no introduction. This is the king of the American off-road meta. There is no car better than the Ram Rebel TRX. Moving on is the Infiniti Vattel, that is unawarded, and the M3 GTS, I'm also going to give it the average tier in Barata. Now this is a car that I've owned for a very long time, so if there was anybody that was going to talk about the M3 GTS that was more qualified to do so, it would be me, to be honest. I've had this car for over 4 years now, and it's gotten one upgrade. It went from 88 handling to 89. Actually, it got a massive downgrade because back in the day, the M3 GTS used to be medium. Now it's low, but at least the RQ dropped down by a lot as well, and the handling is actually really good. 89 handling is a really good niche. It also has an okay 0 to 60 for its RQ and a high top speed, but the main thing weighing it down, I would say, is the MRA. 81.88 just isn't good enough for a 74 RQ car. And also, although it has really good handling, it is quite heavy, coming in at 1,530 kgs, which doesn't really make it your go-to slalom car. It's a bit of a hybrid. You can get value out of it, yes, but it isn't the best thing in the world. It used to be so much better when it was medium. Moving on to our SUVs, now the Porsche Cayenne Turbo is going to be Pappardelle con Guancia di Mezzo. Very, very heavy, but 80 handling is something that we shouldn't take for granted. When it comes to SUVs in top drives, not a lot of them actually really handle that well. 77, I would say, is good, is a definition of good for, you know, a handling all surface tire SUV. So the fact that this hits 80 is very special, to be honest, and I would give it Pappardelle con Guancia di Mezzo. Now obviously, the SUV meta as a whole in top drives is quite weak. They don't get used enough because obviously if you give us off-road tires or off-road track sets, off-road tires are going to send any all-surface tires to a Gapplebee's. But for the all surface tire meta, for what it's worth, the Porsche Cayenne Turbo is among the best. Moving on is the Range Rover Sport SVR. Now this one unfortunately is going to be overcooked and undersold at Rigatoni. For a lack of a better definition, I would say it's just a worse version in every way to the Bentley Bentayga, the two-toe, the Epic, not the legendaries, but the Epic. Fantastic car, that one. Lamborghini Diablo GT comes next, and that's also going to be overcooked and undersalted. This thing makes no sense to me. Every Diablo in top drives, okay? Like, we think about the Diablo VT Roadster and some of the other legendaries in the game. Every Diablo in top drives seem to have amazing MRA. Like, we're talking 100, 98, 105, 102, all that kind of stuff. And then we have the Diablo GT, okay? The JT version, and it has 80 MRA, 79.99, so 80 MRA. Really? How does that make any sense? It has a very low 0 to 60, but that's where the positives lie. For 76 RQ, 85 handling is frankly a joke, and the top speed is irrelevant if you don't have the MRA to back it up. Now, I understand that this also has around 80 MRA, the Miura SVJ, but when you think about it, they have the same MRA, right? The Diablo GT and the Miura SVJ, same MRA, more or less. The Miura actually has slightly better MRA. This is 80, and the Miura SVJ comes in at 80.26, so very, very close. This is a lower 0 to 60, very similar top speed, and it handles a lot less. And look at the RQ difference, 6 RQ difference. The Diablo GT is a huge disappointment. The only reason why it's higher in RQ than it should be is because it has slightly better handling than, you know, the Miura SVJ 77 and 85, but 85 is still nothing for RQ 76. It's a very useless car. I've only used it once, and that was because I needed to use it for a special challenge, which I do believe was Ride of the Valkyries, something like that. Riders of the Storm, I think it was Ride the Valkyries. Moving on is the 8 Yolk. Super impressive. That's been unawarded, so we don't need to talk about that. The Lotus is going to be A5 Wagyu. I want this in my life. It's like a Mazda Furai killer, basically. Super lightweight, 750 kgs, 92 handling, and 3.5 0 to 60. Moving on is the Ford GT40, and that's going to be Burrata. I'm going to put it right above the other GT40, actually, the 67 above the 65. Now, why? Is because it has the same 0 to 60, it handles a little better, and once again, that is atrocious handling for 77 RQ. But at least the Ford GT40 race car knows what it needs to do, okay? It takes the negatives from the 7RQ73 version and it improves on that, okay? So 89 MRA on the 73, 104 MRA on the 77, and along with the upgrade on the MRA, there is a much higher top speed, 213 compared to 185. So to be fair, it deserves a rank higher. Moving on is the 1968 GT40. Now this car has been unawarded, so it's going to go here. The Bentley, only one thing to say about the Bentley. Alright, moving on is the Jag. The Jag XJ220. It's a very average car, isn't it? Once again, it's kind of like the GT40 race car, so I'm going to put them together. They both have really good MRA, right? 98.4 in the Jag, 104 in the GT40. So the GT40 is actually going to beat the Jag on most track sets. That being said, though, it also has a very high top speed and slightly better MRA, slightly better handling and slightly lower 0 to 60. These two cars are very similar. So because of that, I'm going to put them in the same rank. Moving on now is the Citroen BX 4TC Group B. That is going to be Pappardelle con Guancia. The main reason why this isn't in A5 Wagyu is because the Metro exists, and we're going to talk about the Metro right now. The Metro is fantastic. Just a slightly better version of the Citroen. Now, when it comes to off-road scenarios, as long as there's a turn, anything with better handling is going to win. Handling is everything in the off-road meta, and the fact that this Metro just has one handling more, although they have the same 0 to 60, means that this Metro is going to beat the Citroen BX4TC everywhere in off-road that has a turn. Just like one turn even. Moving on now is the Capo Camaro, unawarded, so we're going to talk about that. And then the M1 Pro Car. Now the M1 Pro Car is Pappardelle con Guancia di Mazzo. This is what I was talking about, so I'm going to put the Baby Bertha right under it. So they're both from the 70s, but the Pro Car is just better in almost every single way. They weigh the same, 1,018 on the Bertha, 1,020, so a 2 kg difference in the Pro Car. The 0 to 60 is very, very similar. I know that the Baby Bertha has a slightly lower 0 to 60 of 0.1, but this has 98 MRA, and the BMW M1 Pro Car has 103. Not to mention the handling difference of 4 and the top speed difference of almost 20 miles per hour. So the Pro Car definitely is the better option to use. That being said, though, I don't think it is A5 Wagyu just yet. Because the 0 to 60 is still quite weak. To be fair, for 78 RQ, 4.3, pretty weak. Moving on now is the Yellowbird. Now this was going to cause some controversy, I think. I think the Yellowbird is a very, very strong car, but it definitely isn't what you need. It has 106 MRA, it has a low 0 to 60, and a high top speed, but... Ooh, I don't know, man. I've had this car for 2 years. I've had it stock, bone stock, okay? And I've never needed it. There've always been events where this car was called for and it's been useful. There have been events where this car has been useful in, but there are always better options out there, whether it be legendary or a different epic. Like, for example, it loses on the quarter mile to the Charger Hellcat, and it loses on the half mile, I believe, as well to the Charger Hellcat. So the Yellowbird, unfortunately, it's a good car, and it has its niches, right? 87. Now, let's not forget, Papadele con Guancia means that you're a great car. You're not a bad car in any result. It's just that I don't think it deserves that Valhalla tier just yet. Like I said, I think the Yellowbird is going to be controversial. I think a lot of people would think it's A5 Wagyu, but I, personally, considering that I've had it for over 2 years and I've never needed it exclusively, I never needed to upgrade it or max it, really shows that I don't really need it. Like the Grande Punto, I needed that. I maxed that out last week to get me first place in the qualifiers, Like I've never had an event where the CTR Yellowbird was the best car to use. There was always something better. Moving on is the Nissan Nismo. Once again, Papadele con Guancia di Mazzo. Now, Corn, I'm sorry, I know you absolutely love this car, and this car is fantastic. The problem is, I'll put the pictures right here. They will do the talking. Now, I know it's not fair to compare them to, Mustangs that are 20 years older than it, but at the end of the day, slick tire meta, motorsport meta, when it comes to epics, it does fail in comparison, especially for a 79 RQ. Now, if this was 78, like the Mustang GT4, I feel like that would have been a good place for it. That being said, though, it still handles very well. That's a low 0 to 60. Definitely is the twisty version of the BMW M1 Pro car. Moving on now is the Camaro ZL11LE. That's going to be A5 Wagyu for sure. It has an incredibly low 0 to 60. Great MRI, 92 MRI, amazing top speed, and amazing handling. This is a muscle car. This is the least muscle car. It's a muscle car that is a track beast, because the thing about the Camaro ZL11LE was it was actually a muscle car, but it was made for the track. It's kind of like a boxy Viper, if anything. I really, really want the Camaro ZL11LE. It's one of my dream cars, and I am still in pain till this day. It's been like 4 years. I'm still in pain. Okay, 3 years. It's been 3 years, and I'm still in pain till this day that I got 11th for that, because I don't think it's ever coming back, and yeah, it makes me sad. Indigo has never been awarded, so that's going to go on the unawarded tab. And finally, let's talk about the Evo. Well, I think there's only one way to talk about said Evo, so I'm going to turn this to red, sorry. Add row above, close that, change that to pink, and change the name to Best Epic in the entire game, full stop. Yeah, because that's exactly what this Evo is. This Evo brings absolutely everything to the table, okay? A low 0 to 60, amazing handling for a 4-wheel drive car with medium ground clearance, high top speed, and it is very lightweight. When you think about it, this RQ89 now, and there is a Nissan GTR, the red Nissan GTR, I think it's RQ87 from JPT, has the same exact stats, 3.3, 87. And that GTR is heavier, and that GTR is low. This has the same stats as that legendary, but it's also medium, and it's also a saloon, and it is just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. This car has won me so many events, won me so many ceramic packs, won me so many carbon fibers. It's truly a gem. Genuinely, truly, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo is the best epic in the entire game, in my opinion, and I think it's one of the best cars in the game, full stop. Because when you think about it, it's a lot easier to upgrade than a lot of legendaries out there, and genuinely, man, the Evo 8 is ridiculous. It is a god. But anyway, that is going to be my assessment for all the epic prize cars in the game. Let me know if you agree or disagree. How many of these do you have? How many of these do you want to get? What is your most wanted prize car that is an epic? Let me know down in the comments below. Mine is 100% the Camaro ZL11LE. I have a lot of epic prize cars, and I would trade all of them. Well, not all of them. I'll trade any one of them one-on-one for the Camaro ZL11LE. The only epic prize car that I have that I wouldn't trade one-for-one for the ZL11LE would be the Lancer Evo 8, because that's how useful that thing actually is. But anyway, hope you guys have a great day. I hope you found this video helpful. And remember to check out 30 Love premiering on YouTube on the 9th of March. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. We're going to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace! Yes, I got through the entire video. Let's go! After 4 crashes. Or 3 crashes.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville
Atlantic.
Blonde hair, don't care, look like Leslie Brooks. Pin up girls everywhere with the drop dead look. Swing it side to side.